So by now you should see why I'm right in a very straightforward manner. You should see how this affects the atmosphere. Why did I put this in the resurrection playlist? It has to do with the atmosphere and using the true spirit and focus to resurrect the heroes of old. The difference between that and being some kind of mental health ninny, channeling ideas. Right? So when we look at martial arts, okay, we look at the demographics of sports, the who's who, right? The boxing, the kickboxing. You know, blacks are only 12% of America. Okay. We truly look at this thing, and we're looking at this thing as a warrior. The sports gene, okay? Who has it and who doesn't? Who's trying to replace them? This goes back to the bearded lady. The circus can be seen as an attempt to redirect your attention to those who are cussing the core. Can you replace the martial arts hero and give him respect? No. You cannot cheat him out of his rightful place, in other words, and give him respect. They're cussing him. They're saying they're democratizing his perceived power, perceived by who? By idiots, mind you, in the circus. Some people are breaking bricks. It's a circus trick. They're doing balance tricks. They're balancing on 2 fingers push-up, 1 finger push-up. That's like the person juggling on tightrope walking. It's a circus trick. The juggler, it's a circus trick. These guys aren't martial artists. Just because you can tightrope walk doesn't mean you have a chance in ancient combat. You probably don't. Balance does not help you win. The transferable skills from sparring help you win. These people don't even point these things out, which shows that they are thieves. How can you have honor when you're cheating the most honorable and the most righteous? How can you be right with your ancestors if you're cheating me? If being right with them means to cheat me, then they're not worth being right with. They are dishonorable, disgraced dogs that have no place in the spiritual realm, I assure you. They only have a place in your sick mind where you channel ideas that sickos and rapists and organized fools have been living as cowards. Too afraid to accept the truth. Too afraid to serve Pharaoh. How can you train to be a warrior if you're too afraid to obey the top martial artist? You are training to be a rapist, a sicko, a thief, and a liar, among other despicable things. So we look at the signs in society. Gangs, right? They're highlighting a gang problem. The 2 million or so people incarcerated in America. They're building a wall. The trajectory of drugs, new designer drugs, new psych drugs, right? Releasing drugs that are insanely harmful. Okay, Sidney Gottlieb, a guy named Gottlieb was in charge of the FDA, right? The trajectory of mind control, the emasculation we see, they're descriptions of toxic masculinity. But as I've described in part 1, you should have put that together. Toxic masculinity really has to do with animal nature. Okay, behaving like a dog is toxic masculinity. Behaving like a sissy and cheating the top martial artist out of his rightful place while you claim to be addressing the problems with rape in society is a form of toxic masculinity. He's a male, isn't he? Anything but obeying Pharaoh is toxic masculinity. Because we know for sure, without any doubt, that people who don't obey Pharaoh rape other people. Even if they marry the person and they seem overjoyed, it is still rape. The person is too stupid, and you've helped make sure that they're too stupid to know why it is wrong to marry someone who doesn't obey Pharaoh. It's toxic masculinity. To show how much blood money you have, how many ill-gotten gains you have to impress some stupid bitch at the bar, at the club, at the mall, driving up in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. Did Pharaoh reward you that for your profound morality? Perhaps for your loyalty to God or your sacrifices for the highest cause? No, that is a sign of shame. That is the status of those who are to be seen with contempt, right? To be seen for what they are. Scum, snakes. You snaked righteous people and you got nice things. No decent woman would date you. We know who the harlots are by who they date and who they don't obey. They don't obey me. By default, they're a whore. If they date those rich scoundrels that benefit from cheating me out of my rightful place, they use their money as they see fit and not with my moral scale, certainly they are evil to date them. Certainly there is an unconscious awareness. There's a subconscious awareness. They have no excuse even bred with that type of filth for thousands of years, they still have no excuse. Especially when we consider that part of the reason why they do it is they focus on what people think. And they need a certain logic to come to that conclusion. And a certain indifference to morality. As they are raised with all these cartoons and movies and books and stories and ideas that prove to them definitively that what they're doing is despicable in fact. And they are like little girls who can't get over their toys and their tea time bitch shit. What we see is a sort of McDonald's playland version of life. To them, life is a game where you're working hard, right? Or you're doing some McDonald's playland shit. So all you're doing is working and having some McDonald's playland shit. You know, people don't despise evil and the idea of being a bitch enough. They don't despise mental health enough. They don't understand organized crime enough and how that includes politics. Politics is part of organized crime. And it's also stealing from the pharaoh. They even call things hacking, right? Hacking is part of dirty politics, right? Hacking is referring to a martial arts or a warrior action. A strike, obviously, has martial arts connotation. Okay, these people are even putting it in terms of warrior, of being a warrior or a martial artist, right? Court martial, martial law. Okay, martial to order to arrange. What we see is a bunch of fools who don't understand that they're in a society where a bunch of eugenicists are micromanaging and playing matchmaking bitch. Okay? If you truly valued love, you would go to great lengths to find an attractive woman that you felt you could love and to convince her that love is important. And you would find that they're fanatically clinging on to social norms. And they're incapable of being loved, and they don't love you. And you would ultimately find that part of the problem is your inability to communicate love. And ultimately where that would lead you is that you actually do not have love. You know, as you start to study these ideas in these poems and these martial arts action movies, which are like the elephant in the room. They're saying, hey, is your love compared to this Jean-Claude Van Damme, love scene, quote unquote? And what is he really referring to? This guy's a ballerina, he's an actor. He's pretending to be me. Okay, he's really referring to the old soul brother, soul food, R&B, Bob Marley, I want to love you and treat you right. When people really look to love, they look to black people with all due respect. And when they really look to black people and they really are smart, they look to the martial art order. Okay. Egypt will lead you there. Shaka Zulu movies and stories will lead you there. One way or another, you'll say, hey, the true core of African culture, what really made them the soul brother is right there in the word, the sun, and it is the martial art order. Okay. So when we look at their conception of love, I went over Ludus before. Love is role-playing. Right? They roll with it, right? All these attractive women are shallow and they're rolling with it. They're playing a role. They're role-playing sex sluts for the New World Order. It's stupid not to see it that way. They distract you with things like the Monarch Sex Kitten program. That's just a variation of the greater sex programming that takes place in society. And even the word program is a play on words. Okay, and I'll get into that in the next video. You know, it has to do with rape. It's right there in the word erp. We'll get into that later. Anyway. People are bred without true Horus martial arts spirit. Isis is not Horus. She is using magic power, illusion, drugs, okay, psychology to get people to think they're in love. That's what Isis really represented. That's why the Roman Empire took it on, and they still had to try to learn the lesson from the Bible of what love is, that God is love. And it's not the Greco Roman conceptions, which include agape, right? A-gap-E. Which is the love, I believe, one has for their fellow man and for God. And it's right there in the word, a-gay-p or pay, right? It goes back to apis. There's a lot of connections there. Make a long story short, when you're looking at Greco-Roman conceptions of love, you're looking at a kind of gender-neutral LGBT community sort of explanation, okay? There is no true martial arts romantic love in the Greco-Roman system, okay? There's just agape, the shallow love that people have for the Greco-Roman deities, right? Not for the one true God. They didn't have a conception of the one true God. They didn't have an understanding for what it was. They looked to Zeus, who was a rapist. They looked to all these rapists and cruel, petty deities. So how could you love a deity, a quote-unquote God that is cruel and petty? You can't, okay? And there's all kinds of words. A, gap, E, right? The gap between the A and the E is what they're missing, the true idea that's hidden there. And you have to go to the Egyptian martial art order to truly attain it. And certainly the Greco Roman deities are reaction, like the Sumerians and all, to the African martial arts order. Okay, so look at storage, right? The love that one has for the pet and the family. Love, tenderness, affection. Why do they compare the love of their family to a pet? Okay, I think people kiss their pets. I used to use the example that, hey, there's all these attractive females kissing their ugly dog, but they wouldn't kiss me, and they're taught to believe that I'm ugly, ew, a black guy, and they kiss their dogs. Utter filth, utter scum, utterly out of touch with reality, incapable of truly being loved. When we consider that the black man is the point of reference for true love, how can we expect to find love in a female that thinks the black man is disgusting? And on top of that, kisses her dog. She can't have love. She can't be loved. She's unworthy of love. All right. So we look at the extreme contrast we see. And we see on the right, the same kind of storage. The right-wing guys with their dogs. They're petting their dogs, in their pickup truck. Okay? Their son wins some talent show or something. That's my boy, right? It's in the rape cult system that you're proud and you're feeling an affection for your boy. You're rubbing his hair, right? Like you rub a dog or something. Pets and nudges, pats on the back. That's my boy, right? Is that love? That's quote unquote love. That's love as evil, evil, backwards, interchangeable vowels. Also the av to be L. Defining love this way creates generations of L people. Okay? Even if one day you stop, if you wipe out the martial art order, you're forever L. Man has cursed their family to be forever L, and they have this huge mental health, all this money is being spent on mental health, right? Marketing and all this stuff, right? When they have insisted that people can only exist if they're L. Okay, and you use their own wordplay, their own systems. They testify against themselves that they're sick. Okay. We see the Greek schools of philosophy as they try to teach people how to be L. Plato had his schools. Neoplatonism had its various schools. The universities, the Greek societies, the philosophies and science departments. What is the foundation of Western science and philosophy? Right? We often is credited with Greece, the father of history, the father of science, and so on and so forth. Okay. We see the Greek tragedies, the entertainments, the plays. Okay, these are people who are pederasty. That's why there's pedophiles in Hollywood. The wordplay, the magic spells, the Merlins, the Harry Potters. These are all based on Greek ideas. These Greek ideas, Greeks twists of African culture. Okay, for pedophile and homosexual activity and so on and so forth. We see the erotic porn star Stormy Daniels. Right, this is just some more Greek fucking sex cult, fake love, bitch shit. We see, and of course, they're playing roles, right? Role playing. Right? They're pretending to enjoy it. They're acting for the camera and so on. And acting has become a part of Western sex. We see gracious and the graces, right? They're evil sluts. Okay. God is love. He is not the pagan love. And of course, Jupiter is compared to Baal. Jupiter, Zeus, Baal, syncretism. Okay. Serapis, Osiris, Apis, and Hades. Okay, Osiris is again with Isis, who is not the true idea of love, but using magic, psychology, chemistry, illusion to pretend to have love. They say Ares is the violent and physical untamed aspect of war. And he's dominated by Venus, who is a slut, right? Who inspires erotic desire. Eros a deity, Cupid. This is erotic desire. This isn't love. We see some of these guys made the argument that erotic desire leads to love. Is that what we see? No. We see generations of proof of shallow bitch shit, fake love, and indifference, right? Love must first have justice. If we don't see a culture that is extremely about justice, it cannot extremely be about love. It cannot have love. If there is no justice, there is no love. If you're cheating Pharaoh to impress a stupid bitch with your money, you cannot have love. Neither can your children and their children. Not without Pharaoh redeeming him. You have to have the guy who has cheated the most redeem you. If you get rid of them, so some namby-pamby sissies in church say, I forgive you on behalf of my race, it means nothing. They have betrayed me too. How can those who betray me forgive you for what you've done to me, and I am the covenant with God? The soul is forged by clashing with the energy of this world. And I am the only one who's connected to the source of the spirit, the only one who can redeem.